Listen, for those who can remember, I had this conversation with Dr. Israel while he was teaching the Hebrew class, which I'm going to introduce you guys to again today. But he said this about a particular sound, a particular letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And the letter is Het, H-E-T. But it's not pronounced Het. It's pronounced Het. Het. There's a growling, hawk, almost K sound. And he said this is indicative of how the conversion of Afro-Semitic and Afro-Hamitic people caused to English languages, to Latin languages, caused us to lose the particular muscles even in our throat that pronounce certain words. I felt that to be so very profound to me, because in all of the dialogue that has been said over the course of the last 50 years of the repatriation, say that 10 times, the repatriation of the diaspora African to his culture and her culture, what is not spoken of is the missing capacity to pronounce your own dialect. Imagine. Not only are you devoid of the history, not only are you absent from the culture, not only are you misrepresented of your particular ethnicity. Are you West African? Are you South African? Are you Central African? Are you North African? Are you East African? Not only are you devoid of that, you have also lost the power of language. Not just the capacity to communicate, but the power of language. And I say it that way because when somebody takes away your power, again, the context of Kunte Kinte, the latter version of him, when it wasn't LeVar Burton playing him, but I'm going to refer back to LeVar Burton in a minute, but it was John Amos, Good Times, and they cut off his foot because he kept running away. That's what I mean when I say taking your power away, taking away your capacity to even actualize. And that is the greatest handicap of a people. But Amos Kunte Kinte said, I'm not just going to walk. That's after his foot was cut off. I'm still going to run. And I feel that should be the ideology of the current day people when it comes to re-educating, reconnecting to your cultural roots. Let's see what I'm hearing say. Hey, how are you? How are you? The phone is shaking a little. Andre, blessings to you, my brother. Blessings to you. Carla, good morning to you. Welcome back to the Spiel. It's the live drive in the morning. It's coming back. It's coming back daily, at least Monday to Friday. So, Kunte Kinte, the question is, can we turn Toby back into Kunte Kinte? And how do we do that? How do we turn Toby back into Kunte Kinte? First of all, I think one of the greatest tricks that the colonizer has played on the Western mind of the diaspora African, because that's what our mind is now, it's a Western mind. He has told you that why would you want to be Kunte Kinte again? Why on earth would you want to be Kunte Kinte again? Right? Some of you are thinking that right now as you're listening to me. Why would I want to go back to that? Listen to what you just said to yourself. Why would I want to go back to that? Let's establish some things that many of you know and many of you don't. English is a very new language. English is a very, very, very new language. In fact, to call English a language is to do language a disservice. English is a, for those who know, it's a Germanic. It's not a Latin language. It's Germanic. So let's just follow culture for a second until I tell you what a Germanic language is. We have ancient cultures that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, right? The Egypts, the Syrias, the Libyas, that we refer to as Put and Kush, right? We have these ancient Assyrian cultures and Babylonian, Chaldean cultures. Let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. All of these cultures are Afro-Hamitic and Afro-Semitic languages, languages that are very close, very close, very, very close languages. Old languages. What you come from is an old, ancient history. That's what you come from. So where did English come from? We didn't get to English yet. Let's get to the first century. In the first century, century 1, that we refer to, or 1 CE, or let's talk about that. What's the common languages of the world at the time, right? You're going to have, let's talk with the obscure ones. You're going to have Chinese. You're going to have all the Chinese dialects. You're going to have the Mandarin empires. You're going to have Cantonese. That's still probably that's the language of the people. You're going to have your Indian languages and all of its dialects, right? The Asian languages. You're going to have all of those. With all of their, I think Confucius and these guys don't show up yet. They're close. They're close to the first century, maybe the 3rd or 4th century. Like, they don't show up yet, but they're close. If I'm correct, you can correct me on that because I'm not 100% sure, but we know we have those languages. Those cultures are old. You also have Greek. You have Hellenism that has spread throughout the world. Alexander the Great has made everybody know by the 1st century where Greece is and it means to be a Greek. He's done well. He's spread his culture all over the world. Then he's in Africa, he's in Asia, he's gone everywhere. And then after Alexander, we have Latin. The Romans spreading their Latin languages. And we know all the sub-languages that come from Latin. You have Portuguese, you have Spanish, you have French. That's about it, right? Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian, that you have from those Latin dialects, right? And then the pure language of Latin, the Latin language itself. There's no language called English yet. English hasn't shown up. No one is speaking English. There's no such thing as English whatsoever. Then you have what are referred to as the barbarians. The barbarians are the Germanics, right? If you're looking into, if you're a Bible person, Bible scholar type of person, or Bible student, these Galatians and these individuals there, those are the Germanics. These are the Gentile Germanics that are trying to be converted into Christianity from 1st to 4th century. But these folks, most of them have no written language. They have the Celtics. They have no written language. They're the Vikings. They're the people that eventually become the Britons, the British. They have no written language. And what has to take place is that in order to teach them scripture, Bible, a language has to be created for them. A written language has to be created for them. And that's why they're referred to as the barbarians. They don't have a written language. They have an oral tradition, which is very common to have an only oral tradition. And these individuals are now constructed. English is a construct, is a construct from the syllables and the ideas of those people. And they gave them a construct. They create an alphabet for them and create a construct of their sounds, right? This is where I get back to the beginning. So a sound like het, right? Dr. Israel, you're doing well with me. Het. That sound is not part of their cultural dialogue. So therefore, it is not part of their alphabet. The English alphabet that we use does not have that sound. It is, we have a sound for the H, hey, right? We have a sound for the C, but there is no sound for the I'm getting good at that, Dr. Israel. And so turning Toby back to Kunte Kinte is to revisualize yourself in seeing that you haven't simply just lost time in Africa, time in the so-called Middle East. You have lost the muscle groups, the contextualization of the capacity to even speak your tongue. You have lost your tongue. You've lost it. And you need to get it back, because what is a voice without the capacity of a tongue to speak? Moses says something very profound, and God replies to him. Moses, in his mission to go and to get his people out of Egypt, he makes a very valid point to God. He says, God, I am slow of speech, specifically meaning I am not good in the indigenous tongue of these Hebrews. I was raised as a prince of Egypt. I didn't really speak their language, their specific dialect very much. How am I going to go and converse with them in a way that they're going to understand everything I say? My capacity to communicate is not good. And God said, did I not make man's tongue, man's mouth? Did I not make it? And then he told him, go see your brother Aaron. He'll be your mouth for you. He'll talk for you. So you have the lack of confidence in your capacity to communicate. And this is what we need to do. We need to go see Aaron. Go see the brother who has the indigenous tongue. Now, this is my shameless plug. Dr. David Israel, we have created, I'm saying we because I'm inclusifying myself, a Hebrew school, of which he has now several students here in Canada that he is teaching Hebrew to. And ladies and gentlemen, I was extremely intimidated of learning this strange right to left language, this script language. You don't have to just learn one particular letter. You've got to learn at least two, because the language that is in print and the language that is written, the letters that are in print and the letters that are written are different. It's a complete new learning curve. It's a complete new learning curve. Is it intimidating? Absolutely. But is it hard? What is hard? What is hard? He said something, he talks about your retention rate. How many times does something have to be told to you in order for you to get it? He says his is 1,000. He says you can tell him something 999 times, he ain't gonna remember it. But 1,000, it'll click in. Some people it's lower. And yes, you have to spend time with it. You have to have a passion for it. But I have a passion, and you should have a passion to reacquaint yourself with your indigenous ancient self. I have a passion for that. And I think it's, let me use this terminology. I'm a slight anarchist. I'm an anarchist. But I find my ways to protest. And I watch the English clothing, the suit that we refer to it as in North America, the suit. talking about how great we look in a suit. And I realized those are not our clothes. Those are not our clothes. Those are the Englishman's clothes that we wear. And he's been wearing the same clothes for a very long time. He's wearing his lapel jacket, his collared shirt, and he's wearing a cravat or a tie, or I like to call it a noose. He wears a noose. He closes his shirt with a noose, a tie, a necktie that looks like a noose. What is a noose? Do you know what a noose is? A noose is what they use to lynch black folk. They hang you up, make your little necktie, right, utilizing rope, and they'd hang you, lynch you. And I said to myself, why am I wearing the colonizer's noose on my neck? Why am I wearing a fancy noose, causing him to say, oh, you know what, I'm embellishing here, but let these Africans be recultured wearing nooses so we don't have to find rope to string them up. They can just wear it around their neck. Give them stylish clothing so that when it comes time for us to lynch them, we can just grab the tie that they're wearing. We can grab the cravat that they're wearing. They can walk around in their noose. And I said to myself, I'm not wearing this thing anymore. I don't want to wear it. And I wanted to wear what we call Eastern clothing. I met some Indian guys and I was wearing, they're saying, oh yes, that's what we wear. We call it this. And then when I went to Africa, they said, yes, we call it that. They call it kaftan, or you folk call it the shiki or something like that, because that's the only word you know it to be, right? But it's more than that. It's a kaftan or a akoba. What do they call it? Well, Burna Boy has a song about it. It's a rich man's garment, multiple layers. Some of my West Africans will tell me that what that word is. Starts with an A. It slips my mind right now. Again, the language, right? So I started to revisit these clothings, these styles. I started to incorporate them. I started to be proud of them because I want to be Kunte Kinte. I want to be Kunte Kinte. I don't want to be Toby. What a name. What a name. Imagine being called Kunte Kinte and then somebody calling you Toby. Hey, Toby. And doesn't that happen to many of us? Even in how we have now refigured some of the names that we've given our children. And when the colonizer decides that he doesn't want to pronounce those names in the way that he chooses to pronounce them or she chooses to pronounce them, right? And you see that. Some of you have very stylish names. Your parents have made up stylish names. They don't want to pronounce that name. They want to call you something else, right? Your name is Shaisha. They want to call you Shirley. Can we just call you Shirley? Because they do not want to extend their tongue. And they can't. Some of these words, it's hard for them to pronounce. They can't extend their tongue. And I think it's very important. I think it wasn't Mobutu. It was my friend in Congo, the leopard brother. Is it Mobutu? It is Mobutu. I mean, it's Mobutu. Mobutu told the Congolese that they have to change from their colonizer names. They have to incorporate an African name. They have to incorporate an African name. And I think that was a fantastic thing that he did. Mobutu's a very interesting guy. A very interesting guy. He's a little bit of an anomaly. He's an enigma. But one of the things that I think were powerful that he did was he made the people change their names back and made colonizer names something that was not part of the culture. He said, no, everybody now stop learning these colonizer languages. You have to learn an indigenous language. These things are important. These things are very, very important. Very important. How can you be a nation and you don't have a language? How can you be a people without a language? You're a barbarian. You're a barbarian. A people without a language. are barbarians. And I always call these languages, these Latin, I call them dead languages. I call French is a dead language. It's a dead language. Who wants to speak that language? Nobody wants to learn French. This is Canada. They force you to speak this dead language. I say, why do I want to learn this dead language? Teach me something else. Teach me Aramaic. Teach me Mandarin before you teach me this dead language. I don't want to learn this dead language. And I really feel, and no disrespect to French people. I mean, French people, you're French. You're supposed to learn your language. That's your business. Most of Europe won't even be, I mean, most of Europe is about to be other ethnicities are about to run over Europe. Europe's about to be black just now. They need the people. Italy's about to be black. France, come on. There's how many French Africans are all over the place. And this is how you hold on to a people. It's how you hold on. You say, listen, they're going to overrun us in their numbers, but let's hold on to their mind. Let's make them want to be us. Even though they outnumber us, let's make them want to be us. All right? Let's make them want to learn our language, our culture, so that they forget their own. So we never really have to worry about them overrunning us because they believe they're us. How do you turn Toby back to Kunte Kinte? Got to make him want to turn back. That's number one. You got to make it cool for him to turn back. That's number two. You got to teach him his language. That's number three. Next, you've got to empower him in his original ethnicity. How would you do that? He has to get a passport for his country. Right. And then last but not least, you have to tell the indigenous who are there, this is not Toby. This is not a foreigner. I can't explain to you how many times in Ghana, in Togo, that people refer to me as a foreigner. It was interesting. When I even got my Ghanaian passport, they told me, don't show it. Don't show that passport. Don't show it. I'm like, why? Is it something wrong with the passport? No. Don't show that passport. Just show your Canadian passport. Don't show that. It made me feel like, what? Is this passport not real? Is it not a good passport? I had to travel with it just to check. I went and traveled. I went to places. I got it stamped. This passport's a real passport. But they didn't want me to show it. For some reason, they felt, don't show that passport. Because sometimes the way you get stuff isn't the way that you're supposed to get stuff. I'm not sharing that information. But you have to be repatriated fully to your culture. You have to be repatriated fully to who you are. Kunte Kinte. You've been Toby too long. You've been Toby too long. Yeah, they cut off your foot. But brother and sister, you can still run. And if you can't run, you can walk. And these days you don't have to run nor walk. You can ride, you can fly, you can cruise right back to the place where you came from. Dr. David Israel. For those, I'd like you to check this down. Dell K Brereton at gmail.com. Dell K Brereton at gmail.com. Dell Dell K Brereton or Brereton. It's on the channel at gmail.com. The Hebrew school will be on Saturday and Sunday, where he's incorporated allowing it to happen on a Sabbath as well. Saturday and Sunday, he says this, in 5 lessons, there's 16 lessons in level 1. In 5 lessons, you'll be reading and speaking Hebrew. He's not wrong. He is not wrong. We're 3 lessons in. I'm already preaching certain words. I'm already being able to build certain sentences. I'm doing that on my own, even though I've just gotten through the alphabet. I've just gotten through the Hebrew alphabet, and I'm still shaky with some of it, right? But I'm able to now go back with my studying, with my extra curricular stuff that I'm doing on my own, because you have to spend 15 minutes a day. That's it. You get your lesson. The lesson is an hour, and then you spend 15 minutes a day. That's it. Going over what you've learned. 15 minutes a day. because you need that retention number to hit your mind. This is his teaching. You need it. Some of you are going to take 300, 400, 500 times. Some of you are going to take 700 times. Some of you might take the full 1,000 like he has to, but you need to do it. So 15 minutes a day, you spend time going over the alphabet, writing the letters, just the block and the script, you writing them, right? You got to do that. But I would like some of us to join this particular class. How much is it? It's $300 for section 1. That's 16 lessons. He wants to do it twice a week. Twice a week was a lot for me at the beginning. I needed once a week, and I'm going to make that suggestion to him. After about 4 classes in, you might turn to twice a week, because at the beginning, it's for me, it was a learning curve, and I had to get used to it. You need a notebook so you can write these things down, a scribble book. Then you need another one so you can formalize it. Then later on, when you start reading the actual Hebrew, you need a magnifying glass to make it bigger if your eye's bad, because they write it so very small. And then you need, of course, a Hebrew lexicon, dictionary, Hebrew-English dictionary that allows you to expand your vocabulary. So, Kunte Kinte. Kunte Kinte. We're calling you home. We're calling you home. And this is, I'd like to end with this. This is where some of y'all are going to get your feelings hurt. We have a lot of groups that call themselves Hebrew Israelite. There's a lot of groups that are doing this. And I am not taking away anybody's right to self-proclaim, to self-actualize. But if you are a Hebrew Israelite, wouldn't it make sense to learn Hebrew? That's number one. Wouldn't it make sense to learn the language in its original form? Secondly, most of the Hebrew Israelite gentlemen that I have talked to in North America have a very interesting take on history. In order to be a proper and true Hebrew Israelite, you must understand history. You must understand ancient history, ancient geography. We are too caught up, lastly, ancient anthropology. Ancient history, ancient geography. You gotta know your history. You gotta know what's true, what actually happened, not the fictional stories that some folks are taking as historical. You gotta understand geography. So you gotta know where places are so you can make sense of certain things. Because some of you have your history wrong, very wrong. You have your geography off, and then the most important thing is you have to understand proper ancient anthropology, because you will sound foolish talking in scholarly circles because your dogma is not historically accurate, and some things are just easily verifiable. Can I give you a quick example? A very quick example. A very major error. And if it disenfranchises you from everything I've said, I apologize. I really want you to get into this language school and learn, but there's some things that you need to understand Hebrew Israelite in America. In America, I'm talking to the brothers in America and Canada, okay, in the West. This concept of Esau, the Edomites, okay, and this concept of being leprous, and that white people came from Esau, okay? Can I tell you how flawed that thought is? How bad how bad that anthropology is? And I'll tell it to you so very quickly, so very easily, my brothers and sisters. Esau's father is who? Jacob. Esau's mother is who? Rachel. Who are those people? They are Afro-Semitic people. How can white people, who we know, you know, Genesis chapter 10 will show you, Japhet, the Gentiles are coming from the line of Japhet. How can an Afro-Semitic man become a white Gentile? It's bad scholarship. So who is Esau? Because scripture does say that there are two nations in your womb, right? Speaking of, Rebecca, Isaac and Rebecca, excuse me. Isaac is his father, Rebecca is his mother, Esau, not Jacob and Rachel. Jacob is his brother, and Rachel is Jacob's wife further on. So excuse me, I misspoke. Isaac and Rebecca, again, Afro-Semitic people. Who is Esau? Esau goes on to marry daughters from Ishmael. Who is Ishmael? Ishmael's mother is Hagar. Hagar is the Egyptian. Ishmael's father is Abraham. Abraham is a Hebrew. So let's combine this scenario. The bloodline of Esau, this new nation, which is the Arabs, the Afro-Semitic Arabs, that's who he is. That's his new nation. That's a new nation God created. The Afro-Semitic Arab, right? The light Arab, right? Because he was red in his complexion. He was reddish in his complexion. He marries a Egyptian Hebrew mixed man's daughter. So you have full Hebrew with Egyptian and Hebrew mixed together. Again, God saying you should not have married Ishmael's daughter. Those are the people that you should not have married. He wanted his line to continue to be in Abram's Chaldaic line, the Hebrew line, the Chaldeans, you might say, but the Chaldean line. This is where Isaac gets his wife from. He gets them from Abram's Chaldaic relative, Laban. So he is not a white man. Esau can never be a white man. He can never be a white man. He doesn't come from the white man's genetics. His children are part African, part Hebrew. The scholarship to declare that white people come from Esau is bad scholarship. That's an example of anthropology. And you know I'm correct, because you're Bible students. You know I'm correct. So when you fix these kinds of things, and then you relearn your language, you understand your geography, you understand your history, you become a true Hebrew. You grow into the fullness of your true identity. But some of the things that you're utilizing now as scholarship and information, they need a little tweak. That's all I'm trying to say to you, brother. And this is why God sends you scholars and prophets and teachers to teach you guys the truth. And Dr. David Israel is one of those scholars. So I would like us, again, Dell, K. Brereton at gmail.com. Send me your information. Let's do a registration. It is a $300 course. But we don't mind giving you a little taste before you pay. We don't mind. We don't mind giving you a little example of what you're going to be getting before you pay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You should be able to experience. So we'll create an experience for you, for those coming in, and then we'll do a registration and get everybody organized. All right? God bless you. Kunte Kinte. You need to come home. You need to come home. We'll talk soon. Share this, spread this, subscribe, like this particular video, if you will. It helps me understand what my audience is listening to, what my audience wants to see. Comment, critique, debate, all of that. You can do all of that here, right? This is what we are. We are the Shiloh Institute. This is the real spiel, and this is Dell K. Brereton, and it's great to talk to you. Have an amazing day.